that inequality in India is at a historical high. 35,000 jobs were advertised and 1 crore 25 lakh applicants for these 35,000 jobs. He said that. People, they go on making some kind of promises. I do not know whether he meant 2 crore jobs or not. I do not know. 110 rupees for my dal in November. Srinivasgar. This month beginning, I paid 170. Yesterday when I said to somebody that, it's 170, he said, no, 250. The household debt today stands at a historical high of 40%. Household savings is at a historical low of 5%.
இந்த வீடியோவை உங்களுக்கு வழங்குபவர்கள் பேசஸ் பே செக்யூர் டிஜிட்டல் பேமெண்ட்ஸ் வித் மல்டிபிள் ஃபீச்சர்ஸ் அண்ட் கிரேட் சக்சஸ் ரேட்.
நீங்க பேசினா புரியும், நான் பேசினா உங்களுக்கு புரியாது. மன்னிக்கலாம். Therefore, I would like to speak in English. Everything that I'm going to say, what I'm going to do is to bring them all together, juxtapose them, put them in a context, and try to tell you what they mean for India. This is what I'm going to do today. There are 3 things recently that has come out from the regime. The so-called mandarins of the regime or the thinkers of the regime. It has come immediately after, close on the heels of a report by the World Inequality Lab, which was run by Thomas Piketty in Paris, very renowned economist, especially in the domain of equality and inequality historically in all the societies. They have studied India and they said, his team, that inequality in India is at a historical high. Not even during the British colonial rule we had such severe inequality. To give you an idea of what that is, 1% of Indians today corner 22% of the national income. 1% corners 22% of the national income. And 1% owns about 44% of the assets. This is the finding of World Inequality Lab. And this inequality has intensified, has become very sharp over the last 10 years. This is the finding of the World Inequality Lab. I want to put this against the context of what very important people have said from among the regime. One is by somebody called Professor Arvind Panagaria. Most of you must have heard his name. He was the founding vice chairman of Niti Aayog, and today he is the chairman of the Finance Commission. He wrote immediately, I think just in about 2-3 days after the World Inequality Lab's report had come out, he wrote a piece for the Times of India. He said, don't lose sleep over inequality. He said he doesn't. How lucky. And a few months before that, when the ILO, International Labour Office, had released the employment unemployment situation in India, the chief economic advisor, CEA, had said addressing problems like unemployment is not the responsibility of the government. Because that report had said, you must be aware, you must have seen the reports. That report had said that of the unemployed people, more than 62% are educated youngsters. This is the ILO's report. But if you want to get some kind of a data on what is the unemployment situation, I'll go into that a little later. And this is the second. One is Professor Pangaria, the other one is Anand Nageshwaran. The third one is somebody who is a member of the Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council. He said, supposed to be a very bright person. He said, you know, there is poverty of aspiration in India. Poverty of aspiration, not opportunities. And he also elaborated it. What are our youngsters doing? What do they want to become? They want to become intellectuals? What nonsense. They want to become somebody like Mrinal Sen, and they don't want to become somebody like Bill Gates. They don't have the aspiration to become Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg. They don't have this kind of an ambition. What kind of a people these are? This is the third person. I just want you to park these three ideas in your mind so that, whatever I'm going to say, we can later on put them in context. And when the World Inequality Lab report came, even today, I think even yesterday also, some people they've been writing. There are two types of people who are writing. One, of course, the most important is what Professor Pangari had written, that don't worry, don't lose sleep over inequality. The other is, look, there is no inequality. You're getting it wrong. There is absolutely no choice between these two. But if I am forced to choose, if somebody puts a gun to my temple and say, choose between these two, I would rather choose somebody who would say there is no inequality, because, they still feel that equality is a value. Instead of saying it's good to have inequality. That's what Professor Panigari was saying. I'll come to that later. And Professor Panigari says it's good to have inequality. Let's have inequality. Okay, that is. So if you have to choose between those two, at least, people who are saying there is no inequalities, they still somewhere in the back of their minds, they still value equality. Anyway, not much of a choice, but if at all, you have to force me. You have to force, and if I'm forced to choose between these two. Just park these three ideas in mind. Sometime in 22, beginning of 2022, there was an advertisement by the Indian Railways for some jobs. They are called non-technical professional categories, NTPC jobs. They're nothing but, washing, cleaning, putting the chair here, moving it there, manual jobs. But instead of calling them manual jobs, you call them slightly, you know, in a euphemistic way, you call them non-technical professional categories. So you feel nice about it. If you ask them, what are you doing? I'm a non-technical professional guy. You can say that, isn't it? Instead of saying that, I just move the furniture or clean or wash, things like that, it makes you feel good. Whatever it is, the number of jobs that were advertised were 35,000. 35,000. The number of applicants were 1 crore 25 lakhs. Did you hear me properly? 35,000 jobs were advertised and 1 crore 25 lakh applicants for these 35,000 jobs. You know what is happening in Gaza? And the Israeli government had sacked all the Palestinians who were working in Gaza area under the government. So they wanted to recruit people to fill those positions from different countries. And our Prime Minister and Israeli Prime Minister are very good friends. We do not know, but they might say "Annada, da, poda," that kind of a close friendship they have. So they wanted to recruit people from here. So they chose Uttar Pradesh, Haryana to start with. And later on, after the last assembly elections, they've expanded that to Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan also. And lots of youngsters were queuing up. They were queuing up, and some media people have gone to them and said, "Look, do you know that you're going to Gaza?" Of course, we know. Are you aware that there is a huge conflict going on there? Yes, of course, we are aware. Do you know that you might die because bombs are raining there and, the shots fired, it's a war? They said, of course we know. Then why are you going? You know what the youngsters said? Instead of dying here without a job, let us go there. As long as we live, we'll get some money, we can send some money back home, and we can get on with our lives. And if we're lucky, we'll come back. Otherwise, it's okay. And one day, recently, I come from Hyderabad. We in Hyderabad woke up to see a news report and we were shocked. That was a youngster's dead body had come back from Ukraine. Ukraine. Till then, we did not know, nobody knew in the country. Probably, I do not know. At least not anybody whom I knew about this, that lots of youngsters were recruited from India to go to Ukraine to aid the Russian war effort. Are you aware? We're not aware. Most of us are not aware. So we got to know about this because the dead body had come back from Ukraine to Hyderabad. The point I'm making is that people are willing to go to Gaza, willing to go to Ukraine. And lakhs of people, more than a crore of people have applied for 35,000 jobs. This is the serious unemployment problem today in India. Youth unemployment in the world, India's youth unemployment is one of the highest, 24%. We are in the company of Iran, Yemen, Syria, economies and countries like that. Lebanon, they are in the range of 24, 25, 26. I'm not trying to compare India with Japan, 6%, 8%, or UK. I'm not trying to compare. I'm not that over ambitious. Our neighbor, a small neighbor like Bangladesh, their youth unemployment is 12%. %24% youth unemployment is the headline rate. But if you want to break it down, the youth unemployment rate among 20 and 25 age group is 40%. So overall youth unemployment is about 24% today in India. And the recent ILO report, about which the CESC had said, it's not the government's job to look into these problems. The ILO report had said of the entire unemployed people, about 60 to 65% are educated youth. Educated unemployed. That's what. And I do not know, Hindu carried a good report on what the CEC had said. CEC had even talked about, there was a Cho Ramaswamy movie also. And of course, it's Anandranarayanan who said, I do not know. Of course, we also had a similar, because those days in 60s and 70s, lots of Telugu movies were also made in Tamil, and Tamil movies were also made into Telugu movies. So he also drew a parallel from that movie. I do not know to whom he is referring. Yeah, Muhammad bin Tughlaq. He said that. People, they go on making some kind of promises. I do not know whether he meant 2 crore jobs or not. I do not know. I have no idea. But this is the CEA who was saying about this. This is the unemployment situation. Sometime back, I think in the month of February, the government had given us a white paper on the economy. You must have all seen that. Somebody asked me, Prabhakar, what do you think of the white paper the government had given on the economy? I said, look, I never waited for the government to come out with a white paper, because I get a white paper on the economy whenever I go to buy vegetables and whenever I go and buy my groceries. I do it myself. So I get a direct, wonderful, sparkling white paper on the economy once a week and once a month. Once a week when I go and buy my vegetables, and once in a month when I go and buy my groceries. I'm sure all of you are also getting a white paper, similar white paper, which is the stark reality, isn't it? There's no point in looking at the tables and graphs and colorful things, but this is You pay hard cash and get things. And when I look at these things, I don't compare under Jawaharlal Nehru and under who you know who. No. I'm trying to compare what I paid for in November or December 23 and what I paid just about in the first week. I'll give you a small example of it. You think about this. I paid 110 rupees for my dal in November, Srinivasgar. This month beginning, I paid 170. Yesterday, when I said to somebody that it's 170, he said no, 230, and he sent me a picture. But then that was in a air-conditioned mall, but I buy it in a normal thing. So or maybe it has increased. I do not know. I don't know how much do you pay here, and if it's cheaper, let me know after the meeting is over tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll pick it up before going. Jaggery, I paid 42 rupees in December. Beginning of this month, I paid 52 rupees. It's gone up. Sugar, I paid 34 rupees in December. I paid 45 rupees beginning of this month. Ginger, you don't eat? December, I paid 95 rupees. Recently, paid 120 rupees. I sympathize with you. Green chilies, we eat a lot. I paid 65 earlier in December, 83 rupees last week. I'm not talking about what the economists call WPI, wholesale price index, and CPI, not the Communist Party of India, consumer price index. I'm not talking about those things, but this is my lived experience. When they say in journalism schools, they say, if you want to know the weather, don't Google it. Just open the curtain, look through a window. So I don't have to wait for the government to tell me, but if at all, if you want to look at these things, don't trust the government much. Because government, especially this government, I follow the election campaigns very closely. I followed the Karnataka campaigns also. In Karnataka campaign, the Prime Minister had said repeatedly in many rallies, he said these opposition people abused me 99 times. Not 100 times. Not 98 times. A lot of precision. You must appreciate that. But if you ask the government and the Prime Minister how many people died during COVID, no idea. How many ventilators were there available to the people? No idea. How many migrant labor walked from Kerala to Bihar and UP and Punjab to Bihar and UP? They have no idea. But It's not that they are not capable of keeping a count. They do. They're very efficient. You see, otherwise, how will you arrive at 99? That is the precision with which they can, if they want. So the government doesn't give you much data. But there are now, fortunately, there are agencies like CMIE and other people who they give data. Now, if you look at these, they give you what is the, because you see, if you just look at inflation, the figure, you tend to get misled. And there are so many economists here. I think Venkatesh is here. And you understand these things. I don't want to be technical, but a bit of technicality also is important in this context. One day, I was reading a newspaper, and then the headline said, inflation lowest in the last 4 quarters. Lowest. I said, oh my God, I should rush to the bazaar now and get something. But then, because I had a lot of time on hand, so I read what exactly it said. It seems, sir, it had fallen from 6.9% to 6.8%. Lowest. Technically, yes, lowest. But nothing to really, celebrate about. So not that kind of massaged figures, but the actual figures are vegetable inflation is about 27%. Pulses 19.5%. Cereals 7.8%. Spices 16.4%. Milk inflation 4.6%. Eggs inflation 5.6%. Sugar inflation 7.5%. If you want technical data. So this is the price situation. We have dealt with employment situation. Now there is price situation. And the household debt today stands at a historical high of 40%. 40% of household debt. Household savings is at a historical low of 5%. It follows actually. I don't have to say this because there's so much of unemployment, so much of price rise. How will you save any money? That is the, unimaginable distress. So let me not go away without frankly, brutally sharing my apprehension. If we don't take care now, what you see in Manipur will happen in every state. Generally, Northeast is not a major part of our political imagination. Therefore, we don't bother. It's almost more than 1 year now. It's been burning. Every day it is burning. But our newspapers don't talk about it, our televisions don't talk about it, and our leaders don't talk about it, the government doesn't talk about it. The Prime Minister has not found time to go there even. He goes everywhere. But this is the reality. So that kind of a thing can happen in every state, and not just it can. Take care, it will happen. Don't ever think that somewhere it's happening, it's not us. No, don't do that. Please don't do that. One more thing is, you hear a lot of calls. People say dog whistles. No more dog whistles, actually. Open calls from fringe elements, so-called fringe elements. Economic boycott, lynching, marking of houses, call for arms, and all that. And very funny slogans. Somebody who knows good Hindi here? जब मुल्ला काटे जाएंगे जय श्री राम चिल्लाएंगे. Such kind of slogans on the roads of Delhi, the capital. Now, nobody responsible in the government or in the ruling party says anything about these things. Nobody condemns them. They're quiet, which means they're endorsing it. Now, these are all fringe elements, so-called fringe elements. But if this government comes back, Vijayaji, such calls you will hear from the ramparts of Red Fort. And before I shut up, let me say this. Whatever I have said today, I have said with utmost responsibility. One, I did not say anything with pleasure. I said it all with pain. But these are real dangers. Kindly don't brush it aside. I think, nothing will happen. Somebody was telling me the other day, I was in Guntur, a very senior politician, he was a member of Rajya Sabha and all that. He said, Prabhakar, Indian people, they know what to do. Don't worry. I said, sir, were you in jail during that time? Yes. You were in jail that time. That is why Indian people resisted dictatorship. And Ram was saying about it, isn't it? So today, don't be complacent that things will be taken care. No. We have to make it happen. There is nothing inevitable. You have to act. It is the political agency, it is the human agency which will stop this kind of a brutality, this kind of a dictatorship and majoritarian rule that we see today. Please stop this.
இந்த வீடியோ உங்களுக்கு பிடிச்சிருந்தா லைக் பண்ணுங்க, ஷேர் பண்ணுங்க, கமெண்ட் பண்ணுங்க. மறக்காம OH தமிழ் சேனலுக்கு சப்ஸ்கிரைப் பண்ணுங்க.